We also had what you would think of as a deer rifle, only it had a scope mounted on it that was incredibly accurate. And we made sure it was accurate because we'd go in the field and we'd set up targets at known distances and we'd be able to hit something the size of a grapefruit at a hell of a distance. Anyhow, we put a starlight scope on our sniper rifles at night, and we were watching ahead of us across a rice paddy, and all of a sudden, all kinds of movements out there. You're looking at a vision that just relies on the lights of the stars to provide chemically an image that's sort of a green and black image, but you can differentiate because human bodies or large cows or water buffalo or whatever is out there has a certain way of reflecting that's different from the foliage. So anyhow, make a long story short, my partner and I estimated the distance of one particular individual out there. We aimed, and I killed him. And the reason I know is we went through hell that night. There were dozens and hundreds and encounters all over. We had to call in Snoopy, as a matter of fact, a remarkable airplane that was full of nothing but machine guns. And we were very much under siege that night. The next day, we go into the field, and I thought we were going to find hundreds of dead bodies out there. But for a number of reasons, I knew exactly where this individual had fallen. And it was amazing how much blood there was and how few bodies, because the enemy, like us, tried to retrieve their own when they could, when it was feasible. At any rate, we went out into the field to sweep after this operation, clear and find out what was there, and also to see if there were any living enemy out there so we could kill them. And we came upon this individual. We carefully moved his body because it could have been booby-trapped. That's the other thing. You see, we're in a guerrilla war, and sometimes the enemy knows we like souvenirs. So they'll take a grenade, pull the pin, set it under a body if they can't take the body with them, or set it under a flag or any piece of military weaponry so that some GI will come by and say, hey, great, souvenir, pick it up and blow himself to hell. So anyhow, we determined this individual wasn't booby-trapped. We rolled him over. I got him right through the forehead. And you know what? You asked about my emotions. This is a long answer. We went through his equipment. He had a wallet, had a photograph of his family, had his identification papers. It's all in Vietnamese and such, but, it looks like my wallet. Only it's his wallet. And do you know what? I felt no remorse at that time. I felt nothing. I felt relief that I got the son of a bitch, because otherwise he was going to kill me that night. And that's how I was indoctrinated. That's the kind of human being I became. I was a predator.
The mission was to hunt, and if I don't know how to paint that picture really, but if you're walking through the jungle and you're looking for people, other human beings, and if you see them, your job is to kill them. And I can remember the first enemy I saw dead, and I'm looking at this person and I'm going, it doesn't look real. We've actually done this to this person. Let's talk about something else.
I found out that I was capable of hating, and it was something I would not have believed of myself, but I had learned to hate the Vietnamese. Over there where they were the enemy, we were afraid of the enemy, of course, and then caring for the guys who had been shot and were dying from those wounds sometimes, and so, and just finding out that I could close my heart off the way I did, not care anything. I can remember. One casualty in particular whose leg had been run over by one of our tanks. It was like a slinky toy. And the guy, my going over to talk to this casualty and covering it up with a sheet, that was kind of my answer. So because he was looking at it and he was just like totally horrified to look at his leg, and it was certainly going to have to be amputated. There was nothing they could do to save it. And And when he said something about, what about my leg? My response was, you know, stop worrying about your bad leg and be glad you got a good one. I really, honestly didn't feel sorry for him because he still had one good leg and we were caring for so many worse casualties than he.
The most important thing to me is that this was the highest period in my life and it was the lowest period in my life. Maybe it's something like a race car driver or anybody that performs something at a very high level and performs it extremely well. There's a rush from doing a difficult job and doing it well and trying to do it to the best of your ability. But it can tear you up at the same time. If you don't do it exactly, properly, correctly, right, dead right, you can be dead. So it was very positive that way because you get the juice from trying to do it exactly right and performing it just right. At the same time, there are the lows with all the negatives of battle. I mean, you're going to lose people. If you're going to lose people, you have an open, gaping wound for the rest of your life.
When the triage area was busy, they would send their overflow of pre-op patients to us. And also, if they were not stable enough for the operating room, they would come to us to stabilize before they went into surgery. And so there were times when, and then the hardest part of that side actually were the expectants. We had these curtains in the back and casualties that we knew could not survive their wounds. We would put behind the curtains. Generally they were in coma and unaware. Every once in a while they were awake, and of course those were the hardest. How do you cope? Sorry. You mean, how do you cope in that situation? You turn your heart off. I'm sorry. The only way to go back day after day was to stop feeling, to stop thinking of them as average age 19, you know, who came from a family with a little sister and mom and dad and had hopes of playing football or piano or whatever. You had to just think of them as a chest wound or a head wound or, you know, triple amputee or, you know, paralytic or quadriplegic or whatever. You literally, I mean, we just put this wall around our hearts.